Can you see my screen, everyone? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in the local workspace, developer start the development. This workspace we can configure as Git local, right? So here three developers are working on their Git local. Developer A, developer B, developer C. So three developers are working on their local Git. Okay. Yeah. So basically, what is Git? What is Git? Anyone having idea? What is Git? Git is a
Version control.
Git is a
Version control tool.
repository tool or version control tool. Git is a repository tool or version control tool. What is repository? What is repository? Where we store our data, where we store our source code is nothing but repository. It can be any data. It can be binary files, image files, video files, audio files, spreadsheets. Okay. Yeah, it can be any data. Where we store our data is nothing but repository, right? Next one, version control. What is version control, right? So here, three developers are working on the same requirement, same application development. So developer A is working on front end, right? Developer B is working on back end. Developer C is working on database. So three developers are working on three different activities, right? So all the developers are working with the same project, same application development, but three different components, front end, back end, database, right? Once they develop front end, back end database, they integrate so that application will be built, right? Yeah. So here, so three developers are working on three different activities, right? Who is doing what? How can we track who is doing what? How can we track? By using version control system, version control tool, right? So here, version control tool, allow you to add some comments here, which is who did changes, when did changes, and what purpose did changes. Who did changes, when did changes, what purpose did changes. Who did changes? For example, Ram did changes. When did changes? Yeah, 8 p.m. IST did some changes. What purpose did changes? Due to some prod issues. Prod issues did some changes. So based on these comments, Git will track the versioning. Right? Yeah, who did changes? When did changes? What purpose did changes? While working on Git, I'll show you. So how can we track the changes? Okay, fine. Yeah, three developers are working on their local workspace, which is a local Git. So Git is nothing but a repository tool or version control tool. So repository is nothing but where we store our source code is nothing but repository. And version control is nothing but, track the changes over time. Who did changes? When did changes? What purpose did changes? Right? Yeah. So once development is completed in their local Git, they push the code to remote repository, which is, we can say, GitHub. This is GitHub. So Git and GitHub both are same functionality. Git and GitHub both are same functionality. Git is a local repository. GitHub is the remote server, remote repository. So both are same functionality. We can create Git and GitHub also. Okay, fine. So once the code is moved to GitHub, so here our next tool is, in this flow, our next tool is Jenkins. What is Jenkins? What Jenkins will do? What is Jenkins? What Jenkins will do? Jenkins is a CICD tool. Jenkins is a CICD tool, right? In DevOps, we have multiple tools are there, right? in DevOps, we have multiple tools are there. So all the tools are individual tools. One tool will not communicate other tool. In DevOps, we have so many tools are there, right? Multiple tools. All the tools are individual tools. One tool will not communicate other tool. Here, Jenkins is the mediator tool. It will integrate all the tools. It will communicate all the tools by installing plugins. Okay. So in Jenkins, what we will do? We install plugin. So for example, here, so whatever the code developed by developers, that code I want to deploy onto respective application servers. Here I want to deploy. Here I want to deploy this application, right? So this is a, we can say web server or app server. Web server or app server. So finally, we need to deploy this code on respect to target servers. If you want to deploy the code on respect to target servers, so first of all, what we have to do? We need to integrate GitHub with the Jenkins. How can we integrate? By installing plugins, right? So GitHub plugin we need to install inside of the Jenkins. Once we install plugin in Jenkins, right? Jenkins start communicating with the GitHub. So after that, we prepare jobs in Jenkins. So we schedule the jobs. We trigger the jobs. Okay. Once we trigger the jobs, okay, this code will be pulled from GitHub to Jenkins. Yeah, whatever the code we pull from GitHub to Jenkins, which is, we can say, raw code. Raw code is nothing but unstructured code, unformatted code, right? So raw code will not understand by application servers. This raw code will not understand by application servers or web servers. So that is why what we will do, raw code is nothing but different formats, different files, right? Yeah, so that directly we cannot deploy onto respective application servers. So that is why we integrate one more tool, which is Maven. Maven is a build tool. Maven is a build tool which generates artifacts. Artifact is nothing but archive file. Artifact is nothing but archive file, binary file, right? Yeah. So Maven take the raw code and generates either war file or jar file or ER file. That war file will be given back to the Jenkins. Jenkins push that war file to respective application. Here we deploy the war, right? This is the actual process we follow in real-time projects. Every organization, every project in, yeah, they are following the same process. They are using CICD pipeline. Okay, fine. Now, okay. So Maven generates the artifacts, right? What is the artifact? What is the artifact? Artifact is a archive file, binary file. So because application servers, web servers, they will understand only artifacts to deploy, right? So yeah, raw code we cannot directly deploy. That is why, so Maven convert into respective artifact, right? So for example, this application team, this development team, they're developing Java application. Java application. So Java application development is going on. Java application development is going on here. Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about application development, three types of developments are available. Three types of developments. What are those, anyone? Three developments. Three different types of development available. First one here is
Agile, waterfall.
those are methodologies actually.
We have a parallel development.
Okay, let me explain. Desktop application development.
Okay, web app.
Yeah, desktop application development. And also second one here is Okay, first of all, desktop application. What is desktop application? What is desktop application? Let's try to understand. So desktop application is nothing but the application which we use in our local system. The application which we use in our local desktop or laptop. For example, notepad, paintbrush, media player, calculator, right? These are all desktop applications, right? So we can run these applications on our local system, local desktop, which is, we can say, desktop application, right? So if the development team is working on desktop application, once they push the code to GitHub, Jenkins take the code and convert into Maven, take the code and convert into jar file, jar, Java archive file. If the application is a desktop application, Maven take the raw code and convert into jar file, Java archive file, right? So second one here is web application development. So what is web application? The application which we host on server is nothing but web application, right? So whatever the applications we are using, we are accessing currently, those are all web applications. Web applications. Okay. Yeah, like Flipkart, Amazon shopping site, Myntra, Meesho, these are all web applications. Okay. Yeah. So if the application is web application, Maven generates WAR file, WAR, web archive file. Yeah. Third one is enterprise application. ER. Yeah, enterprise application development. Right. See, if the application is enterprise application, Maven generates ER file, enterprise archive file. So based on the application development, Maven generates the respective artifact. Okay. Yeah. So because application servers, web servers, they will understand only artifacts, right? So Maven duty is to generate artifact. Fine. Once the application is, once the development is completed, they push the code to GitHub. So from here, Jenkins take the code and it will hand over to Maven. Maven change the format, right? Raw code to jar var er, right? So after that, Jenkins push that var file to respective application server. Here we deploy the var file, right? So by using single job, we can pull the code from GitHub to Jenkins and we can change the format here and we can deploy onto respective application server. Clear, right, everyone? Yeah, this process we already discussed a couple of times, right? Yeah. Next one, where the testing will be happen. Where the testing will be happen. So testing should be happen, right? Every application require testing, right? Yeah. Once the code is moved to GitHub, testers will test the code by using Selenium testing, automation testing, right? They test the code. So here, what we will do, we integrate one more tool, which is Sonar code review tool. What is Sonar? What Sonar will do? Let's try to understand. Sonar code review tool. So what is Sonar, first of all? Sonar is a code quality tool or code review tool. Sonar is the code quality tool or code review tool, right? Yeah. So every company, every project team, they maintain some code standards. Code standards. Okay. Yeah. Sonar, what it will do? Sonar review the code. It will provide the report, right? So developers, what they will do? They create some metrics in Sonar. They create some metrics in Sonar, right? So any duplicate lines are there, errors are there, issues are there. Yeah, they create some metrics. Based on the metrics, Sonar review the code and it provides the report, right? If any duplicate lines are there, errors are there. So developer check the report and they fix the issues. Fine.